First up, instead of the Euros, Mbappe should have been playing at the Afghan Kylian. Mbappe is one of the best players in the world, and that's facts. In 2018, after hitting a new level with his PSG team, Mbappe was selected for the French team for the World Cup. He was only 19 at the time, and many fans had questions asking why the coach was picking a young kid for the World Cup. But with 4 goals, including a stunner in the final, Mbappe proved his critics wrong and helped France win a second World Cup, becoming the youngest teenager since the legendary Pelé to score in the final. Now guys, here's the thing. All of this should never have happened. I mean, think about it for a sec. Kylian Mbappe isn't your typical French name. And here's why. Mbappe's dad, Wilfried, was born in Cameroon and grew up there. He later married Kylian's mom, Faiza Lamri, and they both decided to live in France, where Kylian was born. Kylian started training with his dad in the AS Bondy youth team, and once it became clear the kid could play his dad, Wilfried took him to the Cameroon youth team, set up so he could play for them. But you see guys, there was a lot of shady business involved, and some of the youth team coaches wanted Kylian's dad to pay abroad before he could join the team, but his dad said no, and as a result, Kylian was back in France. But in 2016-2017, now at Monaco, Kylian started breaking all scoring records for his age, and by now the France national team wanted to cop him. But the guys from Cameroon had realized their mistake, so they came back, begging Wilfried and Kylian to put on their jersey. But there was another twist. Algeria, his mom's country, also wanted to build a team with players like Kylian and Riyad Mahrez. Kylian had a huge decision on his hands, so he asked for a bit of time to decide on who to play for. And on decision day, he announced the big news that he was going to accept the France national team call-up. When Bobby rejected his dad's country, and one of the Cameroon star players, Osu Ikato, accused Kylian of only getting interested in Cameroon business when he had something to profit. I'm not sure about this one. I mean, Momofi did want to play for them early on, but they went on GTA on the guy and wanted him to bribe his way in. Plus, it turned out okay for Mbappe at 24. He's now captain of the first national team, and is third on the all-time top scorers list. Guess it's safe to say he made the right choice. Mbappe's decision to play for France was controversial, but for Pepe, it was something else. 2016 Euros, Portugal had an amazing campaign and managed to beat the host France in the final to win the first major trophy in the country's history. They kept a clean sheet the final, and a big part of that was thanks to this guy Pepe. Pepe is one of the best defenders of his generation and a Portuguese legend. But here's a fun fact. He's not even from Portugal, doesn't have any relatives there, and wasn't born there. It all started back in 2001, when Pepe was just a teenager looking to make his way into the game. Unfortunately for him, he couldn't find any major opportunities in his birth country, Brazil, and as a result, Pepe decided to head across the border to the nearest country in Portugal. On getting there, Pepe's fortunes changed, man, because in a matter of months, he soon got a trial at Marítimo before signing them and moving to Porto. Pepe fell in love with the country and even married and had kids there. So 6 years down the line, in 2007, the Portuguese government decided to grant him Portuguese citizenship, meaning he now have the chance to play for the Portuguese national team. Pepe immediately said yes, and once you put on that Portugal kit for the first time, it felt natural. But some Brazilians criticized the move and called it names for it. Come on, you can't blame the guy. They made him feel at home. Pepe has been going strong for Portugal ever since, and now aged 40, he's still playing for the national team, alongside another veteran, Cristiano Ronaldo. Pepe isn't the first Brazilian to reject the iconic celestial yellow jersey, but this next one really hurt, because he betrayed his dad's legacy. Masoto was an important part of the Brazil team that won the 1994 World Cup, putting in some key performances on the road to lifting the trophy. He was already a certified legend, and after retiring, his two sons, Diego Alcantara and Rafina Alcantara, decided to follow in his footsteps and turn pro. They started their careers in Spain at the Barcelona youth team, and in 2010, Diego got his big break when Pep Guardiola decided to promote him to the first team. Diego immediately began showing his class, and it becomes so good, the Spanish youth team coaches decided to call him up to the Spanish roster for the 2013 Under-21 Euros, and he said yes. The Brazilian fans immediately felt betrayed, and because it was only youth team level, the Diego still had the chance of representing the national team, just like his dad did all those years ago. After a successful Euros with Spain, Diego had made his mind up, and yeah, he ditched Brazil. See, he mentioned the fact that he'd grown up in Spain, and this was like home to him, but deep down, the reason Diego chose Spain was because he was eternally grateful to his teammates, who hooked him onto Mr. Football, and he wanted to keep that bond going strong, man. So he switched national teams. At least his younger brother, Rafina, did manage to make his dad proud when instead, Pepe's decision must have hurt, and Diego's decision must have been painful. But this next dude turned himself into Brazilian public enemy number one. Diego Costa is one of the most controversial footballers of all time. It's like the dude lives in chaos. After breaking out of Real Valladolid and Atletico Madrid in the early 20s, the Brazil manager at the time, Luis Felipe Scolari, gave Costa his first two caps for the national team in games against Italy and Russia in 2013. See, the 2014 World Cup was just around the corner, and with Fred being in and out of the team, Scolari wanted a striker he believed would be able to bang goals regularly. But what he didn't know was that Costa had other ideas, because later in 2013, Costa received Spanish citizenship, and straight away, he applied to register as a player for the Spanish national team. It was like he dropped a ticking time bomb on the Brazilians, and himself too, because the World Cup was less than 7 months away. Costa's request was granted, and he got registered in time to represent Spain at the 2014 World Cup that was being played in Brazil. The home bands made sure Costa knew what they thought about it, because for every game he played at the World Cup, they booed him all through. It was so crazy that he even received death threats afterwards. Costa's decision could have gotten killed, man, but for Erling Haaland, his decision ended a fairy tale dream. Erling Haaland is a beast. The guy's so insane. He was competing with teams for goals last season. But you see, guys, there's something about this Norwegian beast that's kind of hidden, and now he's been keeping this one under wraps for years until his secret came out and made an entire nation start to dream of a possible link-up. See, Alan's parents are originally from Norway, but Haaland was born in the city of Leeds in England, but was at the Under-17 World Cup of 2019 that the whole world started to take note of the kid, after he scored a whooping 9 goals in Norway's 12-0 win over Honduras. After watching this performance, the English FA reached out to Haaland, because since he was born in Leeds, it meant that he could play for the national team. But Haaland said no, because he wanted to be just like his dad and represent the country. He was from Norway. Damn, imagine Haaland teaming up with Rashford, Kane, Bellingham, and Foden in the England attack. It would have been ultimate team in real life. Alan's decision to reject a country like this kind of reminds me of Messi's decision a couple of years back, and how he could have ended the gold debate back in 2010 and 2022. Messi was captain of the Argentine national team that finally won the World Cup after beating France. For Leo, it was his crowning moment, especially after losing the final in 2014. But you see, guys, Messi could have won it much earlier. In 2010, after moving to Barca as a kid, Messi got signed into the LA Masia Academy, and straight, his talent made people go nuts. The guy who got Messi to sign for Barcelona, Carlos Ria, was so impressed with Messi's talent that he pressured the Spanish FAA into inviting Messi to play for the youth team. They agreed and offered Messi a chance. But once the guy in Argentina heard what the Spanish FAA was trying to do, they weren't going to let them steal a gem like that. So they quickly set up a youth team, friendly with Paraguay, so Messi could make his debut. Messi said yes to Argentina because he'd watched his Argentine idols growing up and wanted to be like them. Felt like a bad move at first, because if he had chosen Spain, he could have been part of the team that won the Euros twice in 2008 and 2012, and the World Cup in 2010. And speaking of 3 titles, you're not gonna believe this guy. The first baller in history to play for 3 national teams. In his prime, Alfredo Di Stefano was unstoppable. He was so good that in games, the opponents would have 3 defenders on him just to make sure he didn't score, and he always did. Di Stefano started his international career in 1947, when he scored 6 goals in the Copa America of that year to guide Argentina to glory and finish his top scorer. But at the time, Alfredo returned to his club side in Colombia. He was exiled there, and when the Colombian FAA asked him to play for them, he said yes. He only represented Colombia on 4 occasions, and later on, when he switched teams to Real Madrid and Barcelona in Spain, he agreed to play for the Spanish national team as well, scoring 23 goals and 31 games for them. I bet you didn't know this. Stefano technically was allowed to play for 3 national teams back then. Just like you didn't know a team could play an official game with only 7 players. Click the next video to find out the weirdest football rules you didn't know existed.